This is my review of Jujutsu Kaisen episode 21. So we open to a cavern, and the blonde-haired guy that was fighting with Utahime, Nobara, and Mai. And I do use fighting in that way. The way that I can't think of the word right now because I'm tired. And he's walking around kind of like, damn, I didn't get to do anything. And then we see the roof cracks, and then some roots come through, and then Hanami comes through. And Hanami's thus missing like a fourth of her abdomen from there, like from the shoulder area down to the waist, and his arm's gone, everything's gone. And Hanami's face is all cracked and shit, and Hanami spits some blood out and collapses, and then the blonde-haired dude is like, in contrast, you worked too hard. And you notice the little hand is on his shoulder, the purple hand. And he kind of looks at Hanami, and then he kind of gets wide-eyed and excited and grabs a sword, and he's like, oh, poor thing. And he goes over and he wants to attack Hanami while Hanami's helpless. So clearly he enjoys attacking people and things that are helpless. And then Mahito shows up and throws his arm around him, and he's basically, you know, says, don't act on your own because you're a human. If you do something to Hanami, I'll kill you. The guy's like, I was just gonna put him out of his misery. Then blonde guy's like, whatever, and he starts walking away and he says, leave it up to a curse to not understand subtleties, whatever the fuck that means. He agrees not to attack Hanami, and then he asks Mahito if he was successful. Mahito obviously could have idle transfigured him immediately if he'd actually put his hand on him. And Mahito says that he was successful. He obtained all 6 of Sakuna's fingers that Jujutsu Tech had, as well as a cursed wounds, the death paintings 1 through 3. I don't know what the fuck that means. I still don't know what a dead fucking cursed womb is. I never got the explanation for that. And then when we cut to Geto and he's talking, he says that most of the temples at Jujutsu Tech are a facade created by someone named Tengen. And Tengen has a barrier, and the barrier changes the positions of the temples every day. Don't know what the fuck. Then we cut to the beach. I always love seeing them at the beach. It's kind of goofy, but with their designs and everything, but it's also pretty cool just seeing them hang out on the beach and relaxing. It's a contrast from what you'd expect from these characters being antagonists and stuff. You expect them to have a dingy hideout like Mahito's fucking sewer hideout, but no, they're on a beach, just hanging out. It's pretty cool. Pretty nice subversion of your expectations or whatever. Big words, important words. Talk, talk, talk. Geto says that only Tengen knows the location of the door that leads to the storehouse, and there's thousands of doors. And only one of those doors will actually lead to the fucking thing. And only he knows where it is. He tells them that Tengen is a Jujutsu. Jogo asks who Tengen is, and Geto explains that Tengen is a Jujutsu sorcerer who has an immortality technique. And Jogo kind of freaks out, and he's like, what, is he stronger than Gojo? And Geto says that just because he's immortal doesn't mean he has eternal youth, and not to think of him as a threat, and it's best to think of him as a tree, which basically means he's neutral, and he'll live forever, but he's not gonna do anything. He basically says Tengen doesn't interact with the world at large. He doesn't really care what happens. He just maintains his fucking barriers. And we see the octopus curses in the ocean. We don't know anything about him. We've learned so much about all the curses, nothing about the octopus curse. I don't know if we're ever going to learn about the fucking octopus curse. I don't know. This point is you subvert my expectations, so he'll fucking speak in haikus and fucking breathe fire because he's I don't fucking know. Geto says he placed a charm on Sakuna's fingers. It was a charm with some of Mahito's cursed energy. He placed it under a single layer of the seal so they wouldn't find it because they're not going to take seals off of the fingers. And so the theory with that is Mahito will be able to sense it and thus find the door, but, you know, and he's asked about defenses, and he says Tengen has two, what do you call them? Hang on a minute. Tengen essentially has two underlings that guard the storeroom. I can't remember what he called them. He doesn't call them guards. He doesn't call them subordinates. Oh, he calls them something akin to a caretaker, and I can't think of what the word was specifically. But basically, they weren't guards. They were just on guard duty. And he basically says that they're not fighters, so they're not going to really be any significant threat to them. And Geto also wants Mahito to kill extra Jujutsu sorcerers at the school to make things easier on Hanami so that the reinforcements don't show up and shit. Hanami asks why they're sealing Gojo out of the veil instead of inside of it, and Geto explains that that's so Gojo's focused on what's inside of the veil and not thinking about what's outside of it, because if his focus is in it, then Mahito can operate outside of it freely, because he's only going to be focused on what's in it. If he's focused on getting out of it, then he would think, well, what are they trying to keep me from seeing, rather than the other way around. So he thinks whatever their goal is inside the veil rather than outside of it, which is very smart. It's a very smart plan. Like, just to think of that as a creator of a story is very impressive. I'm very impressed by Gege. They also want Gojo to have to break out into the veil, so they want to see him use a fraction of his full power to get an idea of his powers and stuff. They don't really explain that. Hanami asks if they're free to just kill everyone other than Itadori, and Geto says yes, but you probably shouldn't, because Sakura seems to have a vested interest in one of them. There's something there that he's interested in, because he isn't acting the way that I would anticipate, and so you probably shouldn't kill everybody because you don't know what that might do. And he considers Sakuna a bomb, and when the bomb goes off, it's just going to create chaos and he's going to destroy everything around him, and they don't want the bomb to blow up and affect them more than it will the Jujutsu tech. And that's why they're waiting for Shibuya. And they basically, Geto says he wants to reserve all of their really powerful stuff for the battle to seal Gojo. They bring up briefly the humans that are going to help them, and they basically say that Juzo is expendable, obviously, because he's a fucking idiot. They say something about one of the humans also monitoring the Veil's condition, and that isn't really explained either. Then finally we cut out of this flashback. This flashback had a lot of information going on. And Mahito picks up Hanami, and it's nice to see camaraderie amongst the curses. I've already said that. It's something you wouldn't expect. This is like what Hunter x Hunter gets praised for a lot, where like the Phantom Troop all like each other. The curses in this seem to like each other. And Hanami basically says it's hard to repress its savagery or something like that, which basically I took to mean Hanami saying it's hard to fight people and hold back on killing them. Because not only was Hanami trying not to kill Itadori, Hanami was trying not to kill anybody because he was told that that could set off Sakura. So it was really hard for Hanami to fight and stay alive while also trying not to kill anybody. Mahito tells Hanami that they're starting to sound more like a curse. Opening, then we come back, and the teachers and principals are going to report on the attack. There's like three third grade sorcerers died. One semi-first grade sorcerer died, and some supervisors also died. They assume it's Mojito because of the nature of the attacks, but they aren't positive. They decide against sharing the information with the students about the attack because they don't want to tell them that some cursed artifacts went missing, because that's a big thing to worry about, in particular the fingers of Sakura. And they wonder about getting information out of Juzo, but Juzo wasn't useful for information at all. All he says is that he had some kind of a deal with a monk. And it's a strange kid. They can't tell if it's male or female, with like a white bob cut and like a red spot in the back. It's bizarre. Apparently they're a monk. I don't know. I guess they're the one that made the veil and monitored the veil. But I don't know. But Gojo definitely fucked up capturing Juzo over anybody else. Gojo says that Hanami is a lot like a natural spirit instead of a cursed spirit. I don't know what the fuck he meant by that. I don't remember learning anything about natural spirits. But that's what he says. And they're basically saying, why didn't Tengen's barrier stop them from getting in? And Gojo says that Hanami can like move throughout plants, and so Tengen's barrier is made to stop people, it's not made to stop plants. And on top of that, it's not that hard to break into Tengen's barrier, because the purpose of it is to conceal rather than to protect something. It's just like, there's thousands of doors, which one's the right one, but once you get to the door, it's not that hard to actually break into it. Gojo thinks to himself about the purpose behind stealing the fingers, and they think either they're worried that they'll feed them to Itadori and make Sakuna stronger, or they want to eat the fingers themselves and make them stronger. Gojo has no idea that their plan is actually to power up Sakuna. He probably doesn't think anyone's dumb enough to think that they can work with him. In his mind, he would probably think that they're wanting to control him, but actually they just want Sakuna to destroy everything. And then they talk about ending the exchange event, and then Gojo says, oh no, we should keep it going, and ask the students. And then Nobara, we cut to Nobara and Itadori and Fishiguro. And Nobara asks, she asks Itadori how he got along with Todo. He kind of just says, well, it just kind of happened. And then he kind of talked to Fushiguro, and he says, glad to see Fushiguro's better, because obviously he was impaled on the gut. And he says, I wish you would have brought me something easier to digest since his gut's damaged than pizza. Fushiguro was apparently spared from the main brunt of Hanami's plant parasite attack because he was already off cursed energy, so they didn't have a lot to feed on and grow from there. Fushiguro recognizes that Itadori's gotten stronger and resolves that he's going to surpass him in strength. He says that they already decided their convictions were right, but maybe they were wrong, and they need to get stronger to make sure their convictions were right. And justified and whatever. And then Todo's there, and he was listening to the conversation. He basically says, my brother's friends are right and stuff. Then Itadori runs away, and Todo's running after him because he's kind of obsessed with him. Todo says, we've been close ever since middle school, and then Itadori corrects him and says, I never went to your middle school. It was pretty funny. Bizarre shit. And then we cut to commercial, I think, and then come back, and then we see Miwa, my favorite character, wearing some baseball gear, and she's like, hello, useless Miwa here. I don't actually think I'm that bad. She was just asleep during the fight with Hanami, and then we saw her looking at her sword and wondering who broke her sword and if Maki did it. And why her sword was broken. Her fucking personality is just the best. Miwa's batting, Maki's pitching, I think Itadori's like the catcher, and then Gojo's like the umpire. And then we cut back like a couple hours or something. Gojo asks them if they want to continue the event, and they're not sure, but Toto says, yes, we need to continue the event because he believes only someone with a connection to the dead have a right to mourn them. I agree with that, actually. That's a thing in real life I would agree with. And he also thinks that they need to compete with each other in order to get stronger to fight the curses, because otherwise they'll become complacent and stuff. You need to lose to know where you need to improve, and you need to win to know that you're getting stronger, to justify your efforts and stuff. So normally the principals would each propose a form of competition, and the students would pick between the competition. They're thinking that there's going to be one-on-one fights, duels, but okay. Gojo basically says, no, that's not going to happen. And he pulls out a box, and they're going to pick of the thing. And Itadori pulls out a thing. And he's like, what the hell is this? And then both of the principals are over his shoulder looking at it, and they both kind of wonder what the fuck is going on, because they both wrote down, I guess, individual fights. But Itadori fucking drew baseball. And so the old man starts yelling at the other principal, and he says, no, I picked individual fights, and then he realizes Gojo fucked with them and did this. So then we come back to the baseball game. Miwa hits the ball, it goes really high, and Momo runs, but she keeps running and running and running, doesn't know how to stop, and then the ball gets passed and she gets outed. Komo comes up to bat, and he asks Itadori why he wants to be a sorcerer, and Itadori tells him that he's always been alone, he just wants people around him before he dies, for people to care about him and stuff. And Komo thinks it's similar to his own motivation, because he just wants to be in a position to see his mother again and bring her back to his clan and stuff. He doesn't swing at all. He tells Itadori it's a good motivation. He gets striked out and the team switch over. Nobara says something like she's the Ma-kun of something, and Fushiguro kind of shit on it, and Itadori says Ma-kun is the Ma-kun of the thing. Fushiguro says something else. She kind of gets pissed off. And then Mai rolls out a fucking pitching machine, has Mekamaru written on it. And Nobara goes up and she's wondering what the fuck they're trying to pull with that. And Mai basically says that since Mekamaru's body was destroyed, this is the new Mekamaru for this baseball game. And then Mai's kind of like, how do you know so much about machines? Are you an otaku? And if you don't know, otaku, most people in America would take to mean a fan of anime if you're in you're really deep into it and stuff. But in Japan, it's more of like a negative term. Like how geek or nerd used to mean like a social reject, a weird person. Like that's what otaku is considered in Japan. They're a weird social outcast. Not in an endearing way, but in like a creepy way. So she's basically just fucking with Nobara, and then Maki comes up. Some people are batting and stuff. I didn't really write down every individual thing. There's little blurbs written about each character. I didn't write all those down. I just didn't care. Because it's already getting really long. I don't need a 40-minute fucking review. Maki hits the ball and it starts going all the way off the park. It's going to be a home run. They're all running, and then Momo's up there on a broom and she catches it. And everyone kind of freaks the fuck out. But since they're down a player, it's okay that Momo is flying and using her powers. It would have been interesting after this point to see everyone use their powers. Like, you could have had Toto running with someone else. And maybe someone's faster than... No. You could have had Toto running and use Boogie Woogie just to teleport to the bases. I was going to say you could switch places with someone that he's running with someone who's faster. But no, fuck that. I mean, you could do that too, like they're throwing the ball and he switches places with Momo, say, and since she's shorter, the ball just goes over her or something. Gaia could have done all kinds of shit with that. But, I mean, you could have just went all out and just had them using their powers against each other and shit. It would have been pretty funny, fucking funny. Speaking of Toto comes up to bat, and there's a little blurb that he won his middle school nationals with Itadori, but Itadori denies this. I think that's fucking funny. I don't know, you're pushing this whole thing all of a sudden that Toto and Itadori went to school together. I guess that was more than just a fantasy. It seemed like it was a comedy thing, but they're pushing it like it's something more. Either way, Toto starts talking to Itadori. He says he wanted Itadori to pitch for him, and he's hoping that after this game is done that he'll be able to pitch for him and stuff, because he really wants to compete against Itadori. And then Maki just hits him in the face with a baseball, and we get a really slow-mo of it just contorting his face. And then he falls down, and he's like losing consciousness, and Itadori's freaking out, telling Toto to hang in there, and then everyone starts yelling out, "Nice pitch" to Maki, and Itadori realizes that everyone just hates Toto and wants to see him get hit. They can't stand him. And then the principals are sitting there talking, and we see some ants are working and stuff, and they're watching the ants at work, and they're talking about stuff. And the Tokyo principal, I really need to learn their fucking names. The Tokyo principal is asking the fucking Kyoto principal if he hates Itadori. The old man says, "No, I don't hate him or like him. Feelings have nothing to do with upholding the law," and he's obviously trying to uphold the law of Jujutsu. The Jujutsu law states that Itadori can't be allowed to live because he's cursed. He's the curse of Sakuna. And that by allowing Itadori to live, a lot of lives might be lost. But then the Tokyo principal brings up that a lot of lives have been saved due to Itadori. So it's not clear whether or not that would be the right decision. And he starts talking about regrets and how, like, a lot of people will have regrets over, I should have done this, or I wish I would have done this, or this would have happened. And everyone can relate to that. I can relate to that. I can talk about regrets all fucking day long. And he isn't sure that the decision they're making with Itadori is right, but he wants to wait and see. He thinks it's better to wait and see if they were wrong rather than just kill him and hope they were right. And then Itadori hits a home run. And the first time I saw this episode, I didn't like that. I rolled my eyes. I was like, of course, the protagonist has the winning thing. But then I kind of calmed down and I remembered Itadori, it's been established, Itadori's a genetic freak. He has enhanced strength. He's always had an athletic talent, even if he didn't do anything with it. So him getting a home run on par with Maki is actually pretty consistent. I don't have anything to complain about. I just wish we could have seen maybe Black Flash, baseball bat swing or something. Just had some crazy powers and shit. It would have been cool. Fucking Toto throws the fucking ball. As a pitch, someone hits it. It's infused with curse energy from Toto. Toto runs toward, like, one of his teammates. Like, this person's running to the first base and they're running to second base. Toto's running to the second base. Person rounds the corner, starts coming. Toto claps his hands, switches places with the baseball. And then fucking, he's going out of the field and the baseball goes right to the person and they catch and get him out or something. That would have been so fucking cool. Giga could have went all over the place with this concept and he didn't, and it sucks. Would have taken a whole 2 episodes of baseball, bro. Like fucking Hunter's dodgeball. Like, give me some of that, bro. So yeah, Itadori gets a home run. Tokyo wins 2-0 because Kyoto's team just sucked. And then Gojo walks by and steps on the ants that they were watching, which is funny. And then we get to see Jujutsu Stroll, and it's actually a repeat of last week's. Last week's was like, are you a cat person or dog person? And it's the exact same thing here, except it's, do you like bread or rice? The only thing that's different is Panda at the very end is like lamenting, like, the team is being unoriginal, this one sucked, he eats bread because of his panda and stuff, and then Itadori's just like, I just think they're out of ideas. And then the preview looks really interesting. It looks like they're going on another mission and Fushigura's going to have to fight something. Good episode. It was fun. I already said this baseball concept could have went so much farther. I wish it did. Confirmation that Hanami's alive, but was horribly fucked up by Hollow Purple. So Hollow Purple is a very powerful technique. Not sure how Hanami only lost the left side of its body, though. Because if Hollow Purple was aimed right at it, that would imply Hanami went down like this, and it caught him like that. Or I'm supposed to believe that Gojo actually missed, and as Hanami was going down, it just hit him like that. I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But it was cool. It was a fun episode. I enjoyed it. I don't really have anything else to expand on with that.